Hello, I'm Nick Amodeo for JamPlay.com. In this lesson, I'm going to be talking about chords, and mostly the popular chords in bluegrass music. The voicings, a lot of the favorite shapes, and just the kind of approach and the reason why we're going to be playing these types of chords. So we'll just get started here. I'm going to start with a basic G chord. Now, a G major chord is probably the most used chord in bluegrass. Not probably, it is the most used chord in bluegrass. A lot of times bluegrass players will even capo just so they can still play out of a G major chord shape. For example, if you're in A, B, maybe even C, a lot of times you just capo at the corresponding fret, play your G chord, and boom, you're good to go. So definitely figuring out a few different common shapes for this G chord is very important, and getting very comfortable with each one of these shapes is very important. So the first one is just your basic, like I said, G major. Some of you might use these fingers already. Some of you might play it like this, which is definitely acceptable, using first, second, and third fingers. I use my third, second, and fourth finger, pinky, to play it like this. A lot of times what that does is it allows me the use of my first finger, and maybe even like both fingers like that to come down. This is a pretty common shape for bluegrass, but there are other shapes that I do like better. I use this mainly if I'm coming from a C chord and need to get to a G really quick. I'll just go C to G like that. Or if I'm doing something that needs this note right here, this C note right here, it's kind of tough to do playing that. You can't really even do it. So this one I do use, and like I said, you will see bluegrass guys using it, not as much as some of the other chords. Another voicing for a G major that I like is actually this one. It uses pretty much the exact same notes, except whereas this version has a B, which happens to be your major third interval, this one plays this note, this D note, which happens to be your fifth, perfect fifth. So you can kind of hear a difference, or at least I hope you can hear a difference between the sound of the open B string and the D note, the fifth. I personally like this sound better. I think it's much more defined as a G chord, to my ear anyway. To me it sounds like that's just a big, bright, sunny G chord. This one, like I said, you can definitely hear that B note in there, which if I'm just playing, if I had my pick of either G chord, I would always play this one. I call this one happy G. I call this one sad G. Don't know why. So, like I said, if try to get as comfortable with both of these shapes as possible. This is obviously a 4-finger G chord. We're using 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, all 4 fingers. It might be a little awkward at first if you're used to playing it this way or playing it this way. To kind of get into this mode might take some practice, but stick with it because it's definitely worth the effort once you get that nice big happy G chord. Now another, or I guess a variation on this G chord that I like to play, I got it first from Tony Rice, who, if you're not familiar with Tony Rice, you should definitely check him out. He was one of the pioneers of bluegrass flat picking guitar. Probably my favorite player too, as far as bluegrass guys go. Super cool, check him out, Tony Rice. He even has his own guitar made after him. This is a Tony Rice. So Tony, as far as I know, he was the first guy to play a chord like that. Now you might look at that and say, well, what's going on there? You took your finger off, and it doesn't sound any different. Basically, what we have here is if we look at our chord, we have a G note, which is the root, a B, which is the major third. Again, if you're not familiar with this music theory stuff, don't really worry about it too much right now. Like I said, you try to, if you're interested in learning, it is really good to know. It makes music make a lot more sense. But yeah, if you are interested, you know, look around the site and, you know, watch some lessons on theory, or like I said, maybe one day I'll do one on music theory. So anyway, we have a G, B note, which is the major third. We have a D, which is the 5. We have a G, which is the root again. We have another D note, which is your 5 again, and then we have another G. So out of all those 6 notes we're playing, this B note right here is the only B that we're playing. The rest of it's all G's and D's. You can kind of hear it there. And what Tony does is he takes this note away. He doesn't actually play the open string, he actually mutes it with his second finger. And this takes some getting used to. But so instead of kind of coming straight down, this is kind of promoting bad technique. Normally they say don't mute strings with the finger. This is one where we actually want to try and do that. So instead of coming straight down on the string like I normally would, I kind of just lightly, or kind of slightly I guess, come down and touch that A string to deaden it, to muten it. Now I have a G, a D, a G, a D, and a G. Basically, I'm playing a G major chord without the major third interval. A lot of people will call this a G5 chord because I'm only playing the root, which is a G, and the 5th note, which is a D. G5. I actually notated it as a G5 in the tablature. And while it doesn't seem like that huge of a difference, you can hear the difference between a B and no B. B, no B. I don't know if you can hear it. I can hear it. You can kind of, it gives you that kind of more of a defined sound. It's kind of weird to think that taking away a note will actually define the chord even more. But to my ear, it definitely does. And I think to, you know, Tony Rice's ear, it does too. It also gives us the opportunity to do this little ornament hammer on there, which I'm going to talk about in another lesson. So those are probably the 3 most common types of G chords. So in my next lesson, I'm going to be going over what I call boot camp, right hand boot camp. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of work. But basically I'll be discussing thoughts on alternate picking, down, up picking, different rhythms. I'll talk about cross picking, and I'll show a lot of exercises that'll get you control and clarity and speed with your right hand. So please tune in.